Today I'm going to be sharing some comfort meals with you guys. I have 3 different recipes to share. All of them will definitely make you feel warm and cozy. I really hope you enjoy this video. Let me know below what you think and let's get into it. We're starting today off with this mushroom and onion crock pot roast. I know this will be hit or miss because a lot of people don't like mushroom and onion, but that's okay. It was amazing. So here, the very first thing I'm doing is cutting up 1 package of mushrooms and half of an onion. Over to my crock pot, I'm adding in 1 cup of water to the bottom, and then I'm just going to add my onions and mushrooms in next as evenly as possible. And I'm just going to add a little bit of seasoning, just a little salt and pepper. Next, I'm adding in my chuck roast. This is about 3 pounds of chuck roast right here. And I'm just seasoning this with some salt, pepper, onion powder, Montreal steak seasoning, and some Badia Complete. I am not measuring the amount of seasoning. I'm just coating each side of my roast pretty heavily with the seasonings, and I'm just going to rub it into the roast. Next, over top of the roast, I'm just drizzling over 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. You can cook this on low for 7 to 8 hours or on high for 5 to 6. I made a little mistake, you guys, so before you put the roast in, where your mushrooms and onions are, you want to add some minced garlic, and I'm just going to add that just kind of along the edges now. About a tablespoon worth of minced garlic. It's gonna be just fine, no worries, no worries. Here is my roast after it is all done. I went ahead and just pulled it out. As you can see, it's super tender, falling apart. I'm just removing any fatty pieces just to get those out of there. Now we're going to make some gravy with the drippings from the roast. I'm adding in a 1/2 stick of butter to melt into this little pan with 1/4 cup of flour. I'm going to whisk it together and just let that flour begin to bubble up a little. As you can see in the back there, I do have some potatoes cooking. I am just making some mashed potatoes to go along with our roast and gravy. Next, into my flour and butter, I'm adding in 2 cups of the drippings from the roast, and I'm going to slowly pour this in as I whisk. As far as the mushrooms and onions go that were in the crock pot in this liquid, I just strained those out and set those aside for the time being until the gravy is done, and then I'm going to mix them back in here. I just gave that gravy time to thicken up, and then once it was thickened up, I added in the mushroom and onions, just gave it a little stir, let them warm back through, and the gravy was finished. Here's my finished plate of food, and if this does not scream comfort, I truly don't know what does. I love having this meal. I mean, look how tender that meat is with the gravy over top everything. It's just spectacular. Next up, I am making this cheesy potato casserole, and this is actually something my grandma used to make at our river house, and she actually just passed away, so I'm kind of glad I have it in this video. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get my oven preheating to 375 degrees, and then I'm chopping up 1 small onion into very small pieces. Into this nice big bowl, I added in that onion. I'm adding in 1 32-ounce bag of hash brown frozen potatoes with 2 cups of sour cream and 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. I'm also adding in 1/4 cup of melted butter with 1 cup of shredded mild cheddar cheese. And then you're just going to salt and pepper to taste, which obviously this isn't cooked, so just add in a little bit. To start, I'm adding in probably a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. Once all that's in the bowl, I'm just going to mix it up very, very well. You can taste the sauce now and see if it has enough salt and pepper for you, but don't eat the potatoes because they are frozen and that's just not good. So now we're just going to spray down a 9x13 pan, and I'm going to dump this entire bowl of potato mixture in here and just spread it out as evenly as possible. Now this is going in my oven for 45 minutes. You just want to make sure that you cook it through and that there are no frozen potatoes in the center. Once you make sure your potatoes are cooked through, go ahead and sprinkle on a cup of shredded cheese to the top. We're using the same exact cheese that we mixed in, but we're adding another layer to the top. I'm just spreading that out as evenly as possible, and then I'm going to put this back in the oven for another 10 minutes until the cheese has melted. Here it is coming out of the oven, and usually my grandma would make this for brunch or something, so I just served this with a little bit of sausage patties, and that is what we had this evening. Next up, we're making this baked mac and cheese, and I do apologize I didn't get a good picture of this. I made it on Thanksgiving and the boys dug in immediately. So I'm going to go ahead and get 12 ounces of elbow noodles boiling in my pot. Once my pasta was cooked through, I went ahead and drained that. I just have the noodles sitting in the strainer for right now, and we're going to use the same pot to start our cheese sauce. I went ahead and melted about 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of flour into here, and I'm just going to let that bubble up for a minute. Next, I'm slowly going to begin mixing in 1.5 cups of half and half in here, and we're just going to get that combined and let that thicken up a little bit. Now that that's thickened up a little bit, we're going to add in some Velveeta cheese. I'm adding in about 12 ounces that I cubed up. I am actually making a little bit smaller of a batch. I'm not making the entire full batch today. If I was, I'd be using 16 ounces of pasta and 16 ounces of cheese. I'll probably make that on here one day, but since there was only 3 of us, I cut it down a little bit. I'm also adding in about 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. Normally I would use the block cheese and freshly shred that, but I could not find any, so I'm just using pre-shredded today. I'm going to keep a very close eye on this cheese mixture and continuously mix it until it's completely melted through. And I am going to season it just a little bit. I'm adding in about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and pepper, a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, and then I'm adding in about a tablespoon worth of grated Parmesan cheese. At this point, go ahead and taste your cheese. You can adjust seasonings as you would like. I usually like things to be a little bit more salty, so I added a little bit more salt, but again, that is totally up to you. Now that our cheese is all done, we're going to go ahead and mix in our noodles. They're going to be stuck together just a little bit, but as you mix them in, they'll break apart and they'll be just fine. Now that that's all mixed together, I'm bringing out my 9x13 baking dish. I'm spraying down the edges with a little bit of nonstick spray, and then we're going to dump our macaroni and cheese right in here and spread that out evenly. Moving on to our topping for the macaroni and cheese, I have 1 packet of crushed Ritz crackers. I crushed an entire sleeve and I try to get those as small as possible. And then I'm adding in about a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs and a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And then I'm just going to season that with a little bit of pepper and give that a good mix together. I did not go too crazy with the pepper. There was probably a 1/4 teaspoon or less there, just enough to give a little bit of flavor. Into my breadcrumb mixture, I'm adding in 3 tablespoons of melted butter. I'm just going to mix that really good, and then this is going on top of our mac and cheese. I'm just going to spread this across the top as evenly as possible. This is going to bake in your oven on 350 for 30 to 40 minutes, and I do apologize. This is the best video I got of this macaroni and cheese. My husband and his brother devoured this on Thanksgiving, and this was the first thing that was completely gone, so I know it was a hit. But yes, this is how I make my mac and cheese. I will have the full recipe below if you want to make the entire batch. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys back here on Sunday. Have a great rest of your week, guys.